Good evening and welcome, everyone. I appreciate the fact that we have a lot of people in attendance, and I'm very grateful for that. I know we have so many things on our agenda, but I appreciate the fact that you're here tonight. Les agradezco a todos ustedes que están aquí en nuestra junta. Quisiéramos que cada junta tuviera bastante gente, así como tenemos hoy. It is now time to call this San Felipe CISD Board of Trustees to order this October 21st, 2019. We will have a public hearing / a regular school board meeting tonight. Madam Secretary, would you call roll?
Yes, sir. Mr. Contreras? Ms. Guanajuato-Webb?
Present.
Mrs. Haynes?
Here.
Mr. Mesa?
Here.
Mr. Overfelt? Mr. Smith? And myself. Sir, we have a quorum.
Let the record show that we do have a quorum of board members and that this meeting has been duly called in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. At this time, we will have opening ceremonies, first with a moment of silence for personal reflection, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. You may sit down. First item on our agenda is recognitions, fine arts recognitions. Ricardo Rios.
Good evening, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. We once again have one of our other fine groups that's going to be performing, as you already heard him just a little while ago. We had Jesus Sertuche singing El Rey, and then we also had Caitlin Clark that sung Al Mariachi de mi Tierra. We're not going to have another little feature presentation, and the mariachi is going to be coming back out. And the mariachi is coming back out. There we go. And as they're getting set, we're going to have yet another vocalist. One of the things that we try to do with our mariachi is to give different students an opportunity to sing basically a la karaoke. And this way we find some hidden talent sometimes really just by doing that. So we're not going to be listening to Los Laureles, and it's going to be featuring Rocío Guerrero.
Si piensas abandonarme, mejor quítame la vida. Alza los ojos a verme si no estás comprometido. Eres mata de algodón, te vives en el capullón. Ay, qué tristeza me da cuando te llenas de orgullo de ver quisiera mi corazón enredado con el tuyo. Eres rosa de Castilla, que solo en mayo se ve. Quisiera hacerte un invite, pero la verdad no sé si tienes quien te lo evite. Mejor me separaré. Por ahí va la despedida, chinito por tus quereres. La perdición de los hombres son las benditas mujeres, y aquí se acaban cantando los versos de los laureles.
And this is our Del Rio High School Mariachi de Medianoche. And so another big round of applause for the mariachis. And they'll be starting their competitive season next semester. We have a contest in January that we're going to be preparing for. And once again, we hope you enjoyed the Mariachi de Medianoche. And we'll be playing around town at different functions and events that we do for the community. But we want to thank our school board, our principal, Dr. Jose Perez, and assistant principals, everyone at from the high school and administration in general for all the support that they give our mariachi program. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Once again, we're so proud of our young people that perform so well and represent us throughout the state with their talents. Thank you, parents, for supporting your children and having a fine program that represents all of Del Rio so well. Thank you. This time we have item B on our agenda, recognition of Campus Teacher of the Week, Aidea Garcia.
Good evening, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, members of the board. The Teacher of the Week incentive program is designed to spotlight the most dedicated and talented teachers. And tonight we will be recognizing Teacher of the Week for September 3rd through September 6th. We have Erica Valero, 5th grade teacher from Dr. Fermin Calderon, Principal Jane Villarreal. Blended Academy, Marisa A. Guerrero Sanchez, English teacher, interim principal, Alda Zuniga. Teacher of the Week for September 9th through the 13th, Dr. Lonnie Green Elementary, Claudia Esquivel, kinder, bilingual teacher, and Principal Cheryl Pond. Roberto Bobby Barrera Step Magnet Elementary, Sheila Nunez, pre-K teacher and principal, couldn't join us today, but we have Mr. Arredondo. Del Rio Middle School 7th grade, Carrie Schultz, ELA teacher, 7th grade, and interim principal, Jorge Jurado. Teacher of the Week for September 6th through the 20th from Ruben Chavira Elementary, Rosalinda Simon, first grade teacher. Principal Maria Correa. Teacher of the Week for September 23rd through September 27th from Buena Vista Elementary, Olga Calderon, fourth grade teacher. Principal Jennifer Sutton. And Mallory Albers from Lamar Elementary, special education teacher. Principal Ms. Maribel Flores. Teacher of the Week for September 30th through October 4th from Del Rio Freshman School, Summer Almaguer, CTE Media Technology teacher, and Principal Mr. Cabello. San Felipe Memorial Middle School, Janie G. Morales, math teacher, and Principal Dr. Sally Zuniga Barrera. Also, from Irene Cardwell Head Start, Vanessa Luna, pre-K teacher, and Principal Ruby Adams. And if we could now have a group picture with Mr. Mesa and our superintendent. Thank you very much, teachers, for your hard work and dedication to the profession.
Once again, we congratulate all the Teacher of the Week. And we ask all the husbands to take them out to eat somewhere, and all the wives do the same by a mistake. Congratulations again. This is an example of great teachers that we have in our district. Now we have item C, recognition of San Felipe Duro CISD principals. Aida Gomez. Aida Gomez.
Good evening, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. Governor Greg Abbott has proclaimed October as Principal Recognition Month. The San Felipe Del Rio CISD principals are the most dedicated administrators in the district. Their dedication to not only their campus, but also to the mission and vision of our district is commendable. The principals are 100% responsible for the success of their campus, and because of that, they put in countless hours at work. They are often the first to arrive, the last to leave. They work most weekends and many holidays. In addition, they attend many extra curricular events and put in many hours after work. I personally know about their countless hours because of the many text messages and emails that I receive on evenings and weekends. It is not surprising, though, to drive by any campus anytime after school is out or on a weekend and see their cars in the parking lot. The principals also maintain a wonderful rapport with one another and work very well together. It's admirable to see them collaborate and lend each other a helping hand. It's an honor to work alongside each one of them. Their professionalism and dedication is commendable. They demonstrate positive work ethics. They make hundreds of decisions in a week, in a month. They keep the campus working effectively and efficiently, and they always complete this with a smile. While thank you does not seem sufficient, we do want to sincerely express our gratitude for their continued loyalty and commitment to San Felipe del Rio with a proclamation to be read by Superintendent Dr. Carlos Rios. Principals, please make your way to the stage as your name is called. From Irene Cardwell, we have Mrs. Ruby Adams. From Ruben Chavira Elementary, we have Mrs. Maria Correa. From Lamar Elementary, Miss Maribel Flores. From Dr. Fermin Calderon, we have Jane Villarreal. From Garfield Elementary, Mrs. Denise Rubio. From North Heights Elementary, Miss Maite Solis. From Dr. Lonnie Green, Mrs. Cheryl Pond. From Buena Vista Elementary, Mrs. Jennifer Sutton. From San Felipe Memorial Middle School, Dr. Sally Zuniga Barrera. From Del Rio Middle School, 7th grade, Mr. Jorge Jurado. From Del Rio Middle School, 8th grade, Mrs. Cynthia Salas. From Del Rio Freshman School, Mr. Thomas Cabello. From Blended Academy, Miss Alda Zuniga. From the Student Guidance and Learning Center, Mr. Brian Westlake. From Early College High School, Mrs. Patricia Rodriguez. And from Del Rio High School, Dr. Jose Perez. Principals, congratulations. At this time, Dr. Carlos Rios will read the proclamation.
Mr. Mesa, members of the board, from the state of Texas, the governor's office. To all whom these presents shall come, greetings. Know ye that this official recognition is presented to all observing Principals of the Month, October 2019. The most important part of ensuring that young Texans can fulfill the potential of their bright future is providing our children with a rigorous and well-rounded education. Principals are a very vital part of our children's education as they set the academic tone for their schools by working collaboratively with teachers to build high academic standards, set performance goals, and utilize best practices for achieving those goals. At this time, I encourage Texans to learn more about the contributions of elementary, middle, and high school principals and the roles they play in ensuring every child has access to a high-quality education in a safe, supportive environment. First Lady Cecilia Abbott joins me in wishing you the best. In testimony whereof I have signed my name and caused the seal of the state of Texas to be affixed at the city of Austin this 12th day of September 2019. Greg Abbott, Governor of Texas. Thank you.
President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board, we do have one principal who could not be with us tonight, and we would just like to recognize our STEM Magnet RBB principal, Mrs. Libby Millender. And if Dr. Rios and Mr. Mesa could come take a picture. At the end.
If you could allow me a little bit of time, and then
course.
I'll ask the rest of the board members if they want to join also. I just
Thank
want
you,
to
Mr.
say
Mesa.
that you are the leaders of the campus. You set the tone, and tonight, the fact that you have support staff recognizing you and applauding you tells us a whole lot about each and every one of you. I know it's a hard job. I've had some experience with that, and they're long hours, and nobody complains because, yes, you are there in the weekend. You are there before school starts. You are there in the summer when everybody else is on vacation. You put plenty of hours, but it makes a difference. And I'm so glad that we could not find a parking space because all your staff is here recognizing you. I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart and say that you are appreciated and you do a tough job. I just want to ask the other board members if you'd like to join in and make comments.
I would also like to congratulate each and every one of you. Like Mr. Mesa said, he and I have both been at each campus as principals, as assistant principals. We know the long hours. We know the time you get there in the morning, the time you leave, the weekends, the Saturday training, the tutoring, everything that you all do. And like it was mentioned, you are the leaders of the campus. Thank you for what you do and for saying yes to being that principal for that campus. Congratulations.
I just want to say thank you so much for your hard work and dedication, the time away from families and stuff. But we truly do appreciate you. And may God continue to bless you on your journey. Thank you so much for what you do.
Thank you.
I'm the president of all your fan clubs. I think you all are great. Thank you so much.
Thank you again. you, sir. We allow some time for the people to clear out. But here I thought that all these people were here to listen to our meeting. And we still have the teachers from Cardwell. So appreciative of them thinking that all our items are so important. They are. I understand the celebration that everybody has tonight, and that's so nice to see that. This time we have a public hearing. We're on item, we don't have any citizens to be heard. No one has turned in a form. Item number 6 is a public hearing partnerships with public/private entities for a full-day pre-kindergarten program for component eligibility 4-year-olds, Ruby Adams.
That's good. Good evening, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. Thank you for allowing me to present to you our public hearing this evening. As you know, House Bill 3 was passed by the 86th legislature and signed into law by Governor Abbott on June 11, 2019. House Bill 3 specifically requires full-day, high-quality pre-kindergarten for all eligible 4-year-old children. Effective September 1st, 2019, HB 3 requires 75,600 operational minutes to include intermissions, meals, rest time, and recess, which is approximately 7 hours. Our current elementary minutes are 76,485 because they do go to school from 7:50 a.m. until 3:05 p.m. However, Cardwell hours are 51,300 for 5 hours, and our hours of operation are 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. So therefore, a waiver is required. Now, in order for us to receive a waiver, a school district must do 2 things. 1, they must hold a public meeting to solicit and obtain proposals for partnerships with early learning centers who meet the component eligibility. And number 2, we must meet one of 2 exemption requirements. Our school district sought partnerships via publication in the Del Rio News Herald on Sunday, October the 6th, and Sunday, October the 13th, and these words here was exactly what was printed in the newspaper. So the exemptions and waivers will be granted if the LEE, the local education agency, meets one of the following conditions. The first one is that a school district would need to construct, repurpose, or lease a classroom facility or issue bonds for construction or repurposing of a classroom facility in order to provide pre-kindergarten classes. The second condition is that the implementation of full-day pre-K would result in fewer eligible children being enrolled in pre-kindergarten. Our school district qualify for exemption 2. The implementation of full-day would result in fewer eligible children being enrolled in pre-kindergarten due to transportation needs and additional bus routes. Now, only early learning centers, schools, and/or programs that meet the pre-K high-quality components must be considered. We are currently in a partnership with Head Start. Today, we will accept proposals for partnerships, and after we receive, review, and consider the proposals, our School Board of Trustees will make a decision to establish partnerships with any eligible early learning centers and/or construct, repurpose, or lease new space, or issue bonds to construct or lease new space. TEA will make these waivers available January 2020, and they must be submitted no later than March the 2nd, 2020. Our LEA must meet one of the criteria that we discussed earlier. We will submit a waiver application along with a copy of this public hearing, agenda, and minutes. And this concludes my presentation for our H3 pre-K full day requirement. Are there any questions? To my understanding, there was not. Is there anybody in the audience who wished to submit a proposal for partnership? No, sir.
We will take public comments at this time for anyone interested in proposals or anyone interested in making a public comment. Hearing none, I will ask either Ida or Aide. Did anyone submit anyone to the district? Okay, none. Okay, anyone else have a question from the board? I think it's on. There being no questions, then I will conclude the public hearing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We have no public members report, rather board member report. We will go to item 8, report Senate Bill 1 requirements.
Mr. Mesa, if I may, Chief Maldonado was called away on school business, and I offered to make the presentation for him. Sandra's gonna load it for me.
Okay.
If it's okay, Mr. Mesa, I'll make it from before he goes.
Sure. Okay.
Mr. Mesa, members of the board, the purpose of today's presentation is to provide, I'm sorry, this is the wrong presentation. All right, Mr. Mesa, I'm going to make the presentation without the PowerPoint. It's updates to Senate Bill 11. Senate Bill 11 calls for the school district to establish a committee whereby we review the security of the district. And it has specific actions. First, it specifies with a high degree of detail who should sit on the committee. For example, on the committee should be the chief of police, the superintendent, but also the school board president must sit on this committee. The committee should also include one additional board member. It should include at least 2 parents. Oh, let me see. Somebody called it up. Reno, did you do that back there? Well, here you go, Mr. Mesa. It's on here. So I'll call your attention to the screen. My apologies. Again, Senate Bill 11 enacted by the legislature of Texas amended section 37.109 of the Education Code, which now requires districts to form a safety and security committee. The committee shall meet at least once during each academic semester. It's subject to the 551 Government Code, and we may meet in executive session as provided. We're going to publish the notice of this meeting just like we would a board meeting. And the committee, on behalf of the district, shall participate in developing and implementing emergency plans to reflect specific campuses and facilities. The good news is that we already have a campus and district plan, so the committee would review them and then make changes as necessary. The committee shall provide recommendations to the district's Board of Trustees and administrators regarding the district's multi-hazardous emergency operations plan. The committee shall provide the district with information regarding any campus facility or support services needs in connection with safety and security. And the committee shall review each report required to be submitted to the Texas School Safety Center. As you know, we do a safety audit every year. Yes, sir.
Let the record show that we have Board Member Ken Smith, 6:41 p.m. Thank you, sir. Sorry.
As you know, we do a safety audit every year. But before this mandate by the legislature, we would do the audit and then we would submit it. And really, there was never any required follow-up as to what was improved. But now the committee will oversee every report that we submit, as well as follow up on what improvements have to be made. Now, who's required to be on the committee? Mr. Mesa, the president of the board is required to be on the committee, a member of the district's Board of Trustees. So we'll come back and ask for action to officially nominate a member of the board. Myself as a superintendent, one or more designee of the district superintendent, one of whom must be a classroom teacher, one more representative of the district police department, a representative of the local police department or sheriff's office, one or more representatives of an office of emergency management of the county or city in which the district is located, two parents or guardians, one or more representatives of the municipality. If the district partners with an open enrollment charter school, a member of the body of the charter school, we don't, so J is not necessary. So Chief Maldonado and I had some conversations, and these are people that we know must be on the committee, and those that we would that would be willing to be on the committee if called upon by the board. Obviously, Mr. Mesa, by name, you're the board president, you must be on it. Then the board will designate one additional member to sit on the safety committee. I must be on it. We recommend Roland Trevino as a teacher. Our chief must be on it. Emilio Galindo from the Del Rio Police Department is willing to be on it. John Sheedy, City of Del Rio Emergency Management, is willing to be on it. Fernando Perez, Texas DPS Emergency Management, is willing to be on it. Benjamin Gonzalez, another parent. Ricardo Delgado, another parent. And Alfred Rosano, a retired captain in the San Antonio Police Fire Department, is also willing to be on it. Our purpose is just to update y'all on the requirements of Senate Bill 11, because in November, we'll ask the board to approve the committee, and by then, hopefully, we will have at least one volunteer from the board, because we must have one additional member. And then we would have our first meeting in December, because we're required to have one every semester. That concludes the presentation, Mr. Mesa. If there's any questions?
Mrs. Webb has volunteered to be the other board member.
Very nice. Okay. We'll make a note of that, and in November, we'll bring the full committee. If there's any other parents that you want us to consider other than the ones that we've already asked, we've asked the principals to nominate the parents. If there's anybody else, then we'd certainly reach out to them. Okay.
So this is just a report, no action required yet until November.
Correct, sir. In November, we'll bring action to approve the committee, and in December, we'll have our first meeting.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you, sir. This time we have item 8B on our agenda, attendance and discipline report, first term. We have this report in our book. Michelle Smith.
Yes, Mr. Mesa. We provided the report in your packet, both for the attendance and the discipline. If you don't have any questions, we'd still like for Michelle to make a presentation regarding our incentives. And on the discipline part, we've asked Mr. Jurado to make a presentation regarding discipline on initiative that we want to implement 6th through 8th grade, and that we will be asking the board to take action later on today. So I don't know if you want questions first or if you want Ms. Michelle Smith to make the presentation she was going to make.
I guess we'll hear the presentation, and then if any questions, we'll follow with questions.
Good evening, Mr. Metza, Dr. Rios, members of the board. We would like to take this opportunity to recognize our campus winners for the highest attendance rate in their respective categories. We have 3 categories this year. We have a small campus, which is less than a 550 enrollment. And for this winner, we have Roberto Bobby Barrera STEM Magnet at 97.57% attendance with principal Miss Libby Millender. For our mid-sized campus, that is an enrollment between 550 and 750 students. We would like to recognize North Heights Elementary with an attendance rate of 97.44, principal Matei Solis. And for our large campus with an enrollment rate greater than 700 students, we would like to recognize Buena Vista Elementary at 98.15% with principal Jennifer Sutton.
I just want to add one thing. We noticed that, Buena Vista and Lonnie Green, with as many students that they have a 97.50 like Lonnie Green. I think a little bit higher than North Heights. So they've done a wonderful job as well. I know they compete quite a lot, with all kinds of incentives, but I want to recognize them as well for having a large number of students and being able to accomplish that.
Yes.
Anyone else on attendance?
Any questions about attendance in general?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Now on the discipline side, Ms. Gomez and Mr. Jurado will make a presentation, and then if there's any other questions about discipline, Ms. Gomez can, Smith can answer that.
Good evening, Mr. Mesa, Dr. Rios, members of the board. Tonight, we just wanted to present a quick presentation on a discipline system that 7th grade campus has implemented in response to 3 areas of need that we identified as a campus. So we all got together and we identified that, one of the goals is we want to reduce discipline referrals. Last year, we observed that there was about 1,200 discipline referrals for the 7th grade campus. We also wanted to make sure that we set and maintain behavioral expectations for all students and consistently enforce the student code of conduct. As a campus, we were able to break down what the differences were from the behaviors that were being observed. So we separated them between what a minor behavior looked like and a major behavior looked like. The minor behaviors, we wanted to see if there was a different way we could address them. And those are, they tend to be smaller with the impact in the classroom. Typically, a teacher will address some with the classroom management, but some of them still need to be addressed. They need to be documented and addressed. So minor behaviors such as defiance, disruption, disrespect, inappropriate language, horseplay, and eating in class would be classified as minor, and those would be addressed through the demerit system. Of course, anything major, physical aggression, verbal aggression, any drug activity, that's an automatic discipline referral. What it is, it's a school-wide approach that allows teachers to document and monitor the minor behaviors without having to write a discipline referral. We write a discipline referral for a minor a minor behavior. That means the kiddo's leaving the class, they're not receiving the instruction. The discipline, the demerit system is designed to track these behaviors, but at the same time, there's built-in interventions along the way. The way it works is kiddos have, the students have, every 6 weeks, they can be assigned a certain amount of demerits before they start getting consequences, and those progress. I have an example here. If we can refer to the screen, so if I'm a student, I get up to 3 warnings. So that means I could be observed doing 3 demerits, 3 minor behaviors. On the 4th demerit, that teacher, and this is a collective approach, so it's going to be cumulative. So once I hit that 4th demerit, that teacher is going to go ahead and call home, have a conversation with that parent, and give them a summary of what's been going on. On the 5th demerit, the teacher that assigns the 5th demerit, they actually copy and paste what's been going on, and they send it to an administrator. The administrator will issue a minor infraction discipline consequence, which is usually a lunch detention or an after-school detention, still trying to minimize the time outside of the classroom. So these minor behaviors can usually be corrected with a smaller consequence. The 6th demerit, that will require the teacher or the counselors to get involved, and they conference with the parent as a team before or after school. The 7th demerit, that's actually where we're going to start the process of assigning a regular discipline referral. By that time, we feel that it constitutes, more of a persistent misbehavior, and we want to make sure we're addressing it. Those type of behaviors might need a little bit heavier consequence. So the demerits, it's by 6 weeks. So every kiddo can, every student is documented for 6 months, for the 6 weeks. At the new 6 weeks, they reset. Okay, and part of the system that we like is that at the end of the first 6 weeks, we go back and we look at, well, which students didn't receive any demerits, and those kiddos were rewarded. We had a raffle for them. So we want to monitor, we want to track, but we also want to acknowledge the students that are doing what they're supposed to, and it really does motivate the other students that maybe did make a mistake to try a little bit harder and achieve that goal. Currently, the way we track it is we use our SharePoint system, and it's through a live Excel document. It's similar to a Google Sheet. This is what it looks like. Going from left to right, we'll have the student's information. Where you see 2nd and 6th period tardy, when we take attendance for our funding periods, we can only mark a student present or absent. So we want to make sure we're holding our kiddos accountable, and this is a way we can track that, and we add those to the weekly tardy reports. And you'll see where you go from the 1st demerit to the 4th demerit. All teachers have to do is they simply log into that Excel document, and they just document what happened, and they just they type their name and the date, and then, so I could be a first period teacher, I observe a behavior, I tell them, I'm gonna have to assign you a demerit for that. The student might go to a day or two, and they go to another teacher, and they might observe another, and that teacher will give them a demerit. And it's a live document, so I can see it, and the other teacher can see it. One of the things that we observed this 6 weeks is that we were able to greatly reduce the number of referrals looking at 2018 to 2019-2020. So last year we had 206 at the end of the first 6 weeks. This year we only had 37 discipline referrals. When I looked at the data, it just looked like a lot of the referrals that were being written last year were minor behaviors. So hopefully this will improve, increase the time that our students are staying in class. Also improve the behaviors just by the built-in interventions. I've also been working with Mr. Mo and Mr. Rudy at MedicSoft. We've had good conversations, and they've actually been working together to create a concept demo. So as we have our planning protocol dashboard, we also have different applications within that system. So they've actually embedded a wireframe where they actually took that document and they created it. They coded the system within the dashboard. And this is what we're trying to see if we can roll out. One of the biggest benefits from this system is that just like our Aim High application, this will tie in just the students for each teacher based on the roster, which is great. You're able to print out reports, which gives you a trend report. It gives you, you can see how many referrals versus how many parent conferences you've had. Just really beneficial data. Do you have any questions?
Yes, Mr. Smith.
I got a great program. Sounds cool. So the you've got it to where multiple teachers can enter it under one student's particular name. What about other members? Like if he's got a problem, like during lunchtime or something like that, who else can access that and enter data?
Yes, sir. So it is a school-wide approach, so anyone can enter. Right now, through that Excel document, anyone can, they have access to all students because anybody can assign a demerit. Or is in the application as well, where even if they're not on your roster, you can look them up and you just add a demerit that way. Okay. I'll tell you that, you know, we're very consistent, and many times, you know, I might assign a demerit during a lunch duty or after school, just maybe some horseplay, but the students are aware. The students are aware of it, and it's shown a pretty good increase with the behavior.
And even like the officers and security team, they can access it as well.
They don't currently have access to it. We're really taking you know, anything but discipline. We're addressing. We're making sure that administrators, if them to be visible, the security. So anytime there's any sort of discipline, they come to us and we can ensure it. If that's something that you would like to change, definitely talk to Mr. Mo. But as of right now, we just work, and we work very close with. Yeah. We're the ones entering them.
Pretty good. Cool program. And so you rolled it out the first school year, and you're just bringing us up to speed.
That last slide there, he said they're working off of an Excel document where any teacher sees 100% of the students enrolled at the school. But through the application on our dashboard, the teacher, only the teachers who see the kids or who have the kids enrolled will see them, as well as the administration and the counselor. So this case has action later on the agenda to approve the cost, and Ms. Gomez can review that with us. What the programmers are also doing is that on that demerit where it actually generates a referral, the referral will be automatically populated, and that fourth teacher that writes the referral doesn't have to sit there and type in everything. They should click demerit. It's going to populate all the other demerits it had, as well as the student's information, and send that directly to the principals with an email to facilitate the whole paperwork drill for the teachers. Now, the part that I asked Mr. Vela to do was to visit the 6th grade principal and the 8th grade principal so they could be implemented at all of our middle schools. And I know that when we went to present at grade, Dr. Zuniga Herrera and Limon were making the presentation to the staff because they had already discussed it, and they also did a great job presenting. And I know that 8th grade will come on board and start using the program as well. So ours is that they're able to build this dashboard, and then we roll it out for 6th and 8th grade, hopefully by the beginning of January.
Mr. Goodall, I just want to recognize you again for bringing such an important item that perhaps experienced somewhere else and introducing it here, because yes, we were at 6th grade where it was being explained, and you know, when teachers send a student with a referral, they never know if the principal's going to be there. They might be at a meeting, and so they sit there missing instructional time for something so minor. And yet when they come back, it takes so much to document and paperwork and the trail to enter that into the system, and they're minor infractions, the majority being minor. And I think the best component of all this is the fact that you're recognizing those students that did not have an infraction. And the fact that it resets every 6 weeks, that is just a great thing, because a lot of times the behavior between a student and teacher is that they become frustrated and angry at that teacher, yet the behavior was caused by the student, and so that continues all your worse feelings being hurt in regard to the discipline that is being assigned. But it just makes a lot of sense, and I think it's going to make a big difference in regard to time, instruction being given to the student because they're in the classroom, instruction not taken away from the administrator because he's not, the discipline assigned person all day long. They'll have time to do that many things which are more important. And the fact again that you're creating incentives towards the ones that did not receive a demerit, I think it's an excellent program. What we saw at 6th grade, teachers were open to it, and staff was volunteering to have all the names already ready for the teachers, and it was not a burden on the teachers for them to input this new system. Anyone else? Yes, Ms. Webb.
I just want to say it's a great program. I think that the students need to have that responsibility placed on them for their behavior and their actions. So I think this will help them to set their behavior and their standards. So thank you for bringing that to us.
I think it was well identified, the major infractions that automatically, they take the big leap, and consequences, and of course, very important parent conference when they do reach a certain, the fourth demerit.
Yes, sir. And we made sure that the teachers were ones that came up with those. That way we would have to.
Once again, I applaud your efforts for bringing more to our district and helping us along the way in regard to discipline.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions related to the overall discipline report that's in your packet? We can ask Michelle to come back to the front.
Anyone else with this? We don't have questions. Next item we have is item 8C, Facilities and Construction Report. Let's hang it.
Good evening, President Messer, members of the board. For our facilities and construction report this month, we'll be looking at progress on the dining hall renovations at Del Rio High School, the ceiling renovation, 400 wing renovation, Dr. Lonnie Green Elementary for the driveway expansion, Del Rio freshman life skills renovation, and then a brief summary of the district initiative that we have, also known as the ESCO utility savings. We'll be looking at a brief report on that. So, Del Rio High School dining hall renovation. We have completed the main part of the glass wall at this point, separating the gym from the cafeteria. The grates for the ductwork, those still need to go in yet, but I believe we're getting those scheduled probably next week. They say it's going to take a day or two to get that taken care of, but all the main glass is in at this point, and we do have heating and air conditioning working in that area. We've also had our custodians come in and do a cleaning on the gym floor with all the construction that we've had going on. This photo here shows the new HVAC work that was put in, all the new duct work, and the 4 that connect out to the cafeteria. 2 of them will be heating and cooling. The other 2 are basically there for backups in the event one unit goes down. So the microwave stations were started this weekend. I don't have any photos in here of these at this point. I will at the next meeting. But we are continuing to move forward with laying in utilities, working on the wheelchair ramps, the finishes for those, as well as discussions going back and forth between the architects and the contractors on the stainless steel rails and different items like that. The ceiling renovation is moving forward. We have the majority of the area around the library done. I believe there's like 2 halls left that they're focusing on. They are doing that work over the weekends. That's basically the scraping of it, cleaning it, doing the texture, applying the paint to it. The library, we're trying to see right now if we can work that in over the Christmas break possibly, because they will need about 2 weeks to do inside the library. 400 wing renovations moving forward. This photo here shows on the side closest is the new teacher lounge in the 400 wing. The room furthest away there is one of the classrooms. We were able to, since we have a copier area or a workroom going in where the old teacher's lounge was, we were able to extend this dividing wall out by 9 feet to keep the room the same size as the other classrooms, but give the teachers a little more area for their lounge because of that new space that we have for the copier workroom area. Ductwork at this point has been set in place down the halls. This is a photo of that, as well as the spray and insulation with the temporary lighting. Snyder is under contract to come back and put the same type of lighting in the 400 wing that they did the 200. So right now we have our maintenance department that's doing the electrical. We have Snyder in there finishing up the HVAC, and then we also have Frontera in there trying to get all the drywall in place so we can accept the new furniture. I believe the week of December 9th is what we're looking at this point. Providing the rooms ready, the furniture will go in at that time before we go on break. While we're on break, then we're going to make the shift of moving into that 400 wing area. And this is a photo here of one of the halls. The sheetrock is already up in the hall areas. At this point, utilities are pretty much completed, or I should say about 95% completed in 3/4 of the 400 wings. So we're focusing now on that one last hall at this point. We're dealing with electrical and network connectivity all at the same time, as well as the contractors. So everybody's working really close together to meet this timeline. The Dr. Lonnie Green Elementary, we do have an agenda item tonight for the concrete work. And I highlighted in blue here the area that would be receiving the new concrete, as well as the concrete pad for the soon-to-be canopy that will follow. And there will also be a sidewalk included there that goes up to the back of the school. Life skills renovation over at Del Rio Freshman. We were trying to get construction documents back here before this meeting, but we've had some delays with some of the MEP drawings, so we'd like to bring those back when they're actual complete set for the board to be able to review and vote on that. So we've pushed that out to the next board meeting at this point to make sure that we have all the electrical, heating and air conditioning, plumbing, all those utility components in there, so we'll be able to gauge the budget a whole lot better at that point. And the ESCO utility savings report, I met with Snyder a couple of weeks ago on this. We do have pulse card meters at all the campuses now, so we're taking live readings of all the electricity that's being used, as well as the water, and they're projecting it based on the utility bills that we've had in the past. So this particular report here is a reconciled savings through July of 2019 since the majority of the construction started, which we have in September of 2018 through July 2019. Their reports are showing a utility savings of $236,428 so far. Obviously, the annual guarantee originally was factored in at over $1 million, so this is going to continue to grow now. But we have everything reporting back. Their system is about 2 to 3 months behind the actual that we get, so this report would actually be reporting on the previous quarter, not the one that we're in at this time. Next report, we're anticipating we'll receive it in January, And again, those numbers should continue to grow to get us closer to the 1 million mark. The project completion right now, because they do still have to complete the 8900 wing, which we're hoping to start after January 1. But per their contract on 4/9/2020 is when they're projected to be completed. Then there's a one-year waiting period after that before the guarantee kicks in. So my focus right now is to get them in and get that 8900 done as quickly as possible, so we can move that project completion date up by a couple more months, which at this savings, I think that'll be a tremendous, help for us. To put this in perspective, emission-wise, with the savings I've calculated so far, we've basically taken 328 cars, removed them for 1 year off the road. Also equates to 446 acres of trees that are planted. So from a environment perspective, it's a good thing that we're doing, not just that we're saving the money, but it is also a good thing for the environment. Questions?
Mr. Smith?
So you didn't let me have a copy of that savings data chart. Go back to that. So that's cumulative over since September. So they're gonna reset, or
well, this
is like incremental?
Because this is the first report, it would be a lot of speculation on my part if I were to answer that right now. This is cumulative, but this is also a snapshot taken from when equipment was first ordered. We had the lead time to get it here, so, but I really wanted to get something to where we could honestly say that we do have a savings and be able to put a number to that. Snyder's willing to give this report monthly. I don't think there's an absence to do it monthly. In the case of electricity, we may go 2 months before we receive the bill from AEP. So when that happens, then it's going to throw off the other monthly reports. But if we do it on a quarterly basis, I think that'll give us a good snapshot. And if we start declining, then obviously that's going to cause concerns.
Yeah, it gives us a starting point to start talking about value or not, if it's doing what it says. So you think you're going to break it down incrementally by quarter and then roll that up into an annual number, so you're going to look at it?
That's what I'm on right now. I'll know more once we get that report in January to see what it looks like, because there are a lot of variables with this project. It's started. We have more lights that are working now that weren't before. We have AC units that are working now that weren't before. All of those variables have to be taken into account when their savings team actually does their calculations. We're officially being handed over to that team now because we're right at the end of the construction with them. So that's why we're able to start getting these reports. So a lot of people are going to be watching these, not just because of the guarantee, but also that savings to see what that looks like.
Yeah, no doubt this is a critical piece of the puzzle. And so if I look at it on a quarterly basis, when do you think you're going to start yielding the full benefit of the full package? What, next year, this time, 2 years from now? Or?
The next report that I plan on submitting will be in January, and I can see what type of jump we have from July until January, and then I can give you.
The full implementation was going to be finished at what time?
We are a little behind schedule, but because of the additional renovation we're doing at the high school, but that we're doing, not Snyder's doing. The full project should be completed by April this coming year. We move the 900 wing into the 400 wing that's being renovated right now, and that's really the holdup. But according to the contract, we're going to wait 1 year of implementation for the guaranteed savings. As part of that, the Schneider Electric and district contract for, we're going to call it coaching services, where they help us monitor the usage month to month to make sure that everything can fine. So they're going to partner with us through the life of the loan that we used to pay for all this. but the guaranteed savings happen 1 year after the implementation. So if we're done in April, then April of the following year, we should be able to start calculating that savings that was generated. But they have a lot of confidence, but they do require that they hitches along the way, make sure that we don't miss a beat. So we'll get the quarterly reports to make sure we're on track, but it's really a year from the completion date.
Okay.
A couple of questions, I do want to receive these savings report quarterly. And the other question I had was, in regard to, let's say, Lonnie Green opening the driveway there, will the sprinkler system be repaired at some point?
Yes, we're currently working on that with the contractor right now, to get that sprinkler system taken care of.
Okay. My other question in regard to high school, the glass panels, are they being installed?
They're already installed. Go back to that picture, Les. That right there, that's a live picture. The only panels that are not installed are the ones where those 3 units are, 4 units. You can only see 3 of them. And that's just because they're being manufactured especially for that. But that's already, that glass wall is already up. That's a today picture.
I'm asking about the ones in front of the office. In the dining area.
Oh, the bench area.
Yes.
The bench area.
Yeah, we're working with the architect, Mr. Chapman, Mr. Hay went in and helped them. So they asked them to hold off on it until they can come up with a better solution to make sure that it won't break. So the answer is yes, we will have them installed. We just want to make sure that it doesn't pose any kind of danger to any student. So they're working with the architect, and we should have a solid update, maybe even completely resolved by the next time the board meets.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions from board members? Yes.
Just the ceiling, I know that when it was recommended that we go after the ceiling, it seemed like a really big task, but that question is on it because it does make the world of difference. Just looking at it, it just looks way nice. So I invite the community back in with the office and just see how the renovations are coming. Very impressive.
Thank you. Can I go back and just pull up that one picture? I just want to ask one quick question. So those cables there that are exposed in front of the library,
These.
you're going to hide those in conduit or something?
We have, the board approved money be set aside for finalizing the ceiling. And as part of the consent agenda, you'll be approving an architect that's going to give us a whole schematic design of the high school. And part of that work is going to include coming up with a final definition for the ceiling that will include acoustic ceiling and as well as a super system. And within that acoustical definition, they'll include hiding the wires in there.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Yes, I've seen, we went to the high school to do a presentation there. There's a that has happened is you can hardly see where they excavated, they brought some of the cement to reroute those lanes, and it very nice. The dining area, just everything seemed to flow, with the same level, and it's just turning out real good. Good being done. There are no other questions. Thank you, sir.
Thank
for that
you.
report. Next item we have is item 8D, targeted support identified campuses, presentations, North Heights Elementary, Garfield Elementary, and Dr. Fermin Calderon. Ida Gomez.
Good evening, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, and members of the board. I left a copy of the PowerPoint presentation at your area where you sit, and we will be going through the slides. The campuses that received a D in a domain but earned a C overall were North Heights, Dr. Fermin Calderon, and Garfield Elementary, and those principals are also here with me. The state intervention requirements under the Texas Education Code 39.101 state that if a campus has an overall rating of a C or better and a final performance rating of a D in one of the domains, then the following actions must take place. One, the campus needs to develop some kind of plan. It can be a targeted improvement plan. It can be something that's embedded into the campus improvement plan. That presentation of the strategies or the plan of action must be presented to the board, and the board must approve it. Because the campuses were rated a C or better, the plans do not have to be submitted to TEA. Again, the campuses that received a D were North Heights Elementary. They received a D in Domain 1 with a 60 under student achievement, and a D in Domain 2, Part B, with a 63 under the comparison. Dr. Fermin Calderon also received a D in Domain 1 with a 60, and a D in Domain 2, Part B, with a 65. And Garfield Elementary did receive a D in Domain 1 with a 69. On this chart, you'll be able to see the actual report that came in from TEA for the 3 campuses. You'll see that in red, well, first of all, over on the left side, you'll see student achievement for Domain 1, student progress is Domain 2, and closing the gap is Domain 3. You'll see in red the domains that I just referred to, where the campuses did earn a D. What we'd also like to point out is that all the campuses under academic growth are in green. Our students grew at all of these campuses. We are currently going to show you the plan on how we plan to improve Domain 1 for student achievement, but the actual growth, all 3 campuses showed great improvement. You'll see North Heights Elementary with a 75. You'll see Calderon Elementary with a 77. And you'll see Garfield Elementary with an 80. So our growth, the plan of action from last year did work. Now you'll see here that in Domain 1, North Heights and Calderon received a 60, Garfield a 69. Domain 2, academic performance, this is the growth. North Heights and Dr. Fermin Calderon had a 75 and a 77, while Garfield received an 80. Domain 2, Part B, which is relative performance, you'll see North Heights and Calderon did receive a 63 and a 66, while Garfield earned a 75. All 3 campuses under closing the gap did receive a C. What is Domain 1? The questions come up. What's the difference in the way that we are rated per domain? The next couple of slides will describe that. Domain 1 evaluates student performance across all subjects for all students. This includes all students. Our alt students taking any kind of alternative assessment. So this would be our 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade reading, our 4th grade writing, and our 5th grade science. Those are the assessments that we're talking about for Domain 1 for elementary. The STAR assessments are scored at the approaches, the meets, or the masters. What that means that if a student has to score whatever it is TA says for approaches, be it a 53, let's say for meets, it's a 75, and for masters an 87. Whatever the score is, that's what the student has to meet in order to get that rating. The student achievement domain for elementary campuses is calculated by adding the 3 campus performance percentage scores for all the tests at a given campus and divided by 3.
The domain is then scaled into an alpha score, and I'll explain that in just a moment. So basically, we take a test and a student gets scored. If they did not meet it, they're in red and the campus does not get any type of point. If they reach an approaches level, the campus gets 1 point for that student. So I'm a fourth grade student, third grade student. If I get to the approaches level, I just earn the campus a point. If they can get that student to the meets level, not only did the student get the approaches point, but they also get the meets level point. So it's worth more now. And if they can get that same student to pass at the master's level, they get a point for approaches, a point for meets, and a point for masters. So it's obvious that our focus has to be at the meets and masters level so that every assessment is worth more credits or more points. You'll see at the bottom, percent of approaches plus percent of meets plus percent of masters divided by 3 gives you a score. Again, so what does that mean? Here's an example. So let's just say any one of our campuses, and any campus you can imagine. Number of assessments in reading was 480. In math, 430. In writing, because it's only 4th grade, maybe 100 assessments. And in science, because it's only 1 grade level, 105. You total all those assessments, math, reading, science, and social and writing, and they total 1,115 assessments. Okay? If you look at reading, out of the 480 who took it, 300 met it at approaches. So that's 1 point right here that we're going to get. Out of those 300, 200 actually scored at the meets, and out of those, 100 scored at the masters. So we look at how many they gave, and then we look at the top number for approaches, but out of those numbers, how many actually went to meets and masters. In math, 430 assessments, 300 students met it at approaches. Out of those 300, 170 met it at the meets, and out of those, 70 met it at the masters. And you calculate it for every subject. Then you add them across again. 300 plus 300 plus 50 plus 60 of approaches is 710 points. Meets, 200 plus 170 plus 25 plus 30 is 425 points. And then the masters, 100 plus 70 plus 10 plus 10 is 190. Now you have to take your formula to figure out your percentages. So out of 710 divided by 1,115 assessments, that is a 67%. You take your 425 and divide that into by 1,115 and you get 38%. You take the 190, divide that into 1,115 and you get 17. You have to add these 3 percentages together. You come up with 122. And as mentioned earlier, you divide by 3. That's a score of 41. Then we have to go to another chart over here. A score of 41, right here, would equate to a 70. So you saw earlier that Garfield had a 69. They had a 40. So you just work out the formula, and then you have to come to the chart to actually figure out what the alpha score would be. So, having presented that, the question is, what is our focus for 3rd through 5th graders? Without a doubt, it is to increase our student achievement in reading and math at the approaches, at the meets and the masters. Our focus is meets and masters. We're going to utilize the 2018-19 STAR data for our 4th and 5th graders because we already have it. This year, for our 3rd graders, we administered a 3rd grade baseline. We took a release test, and we actually formulated a test, and we gave it to 3rd graders. In the past, we would use 2nd grade tests that were given in May, and that was the data we would start with. This year, the principals wanted something more current, so we actually administered the test. We don't have the final results. We still have 2 campuses administering it, But as soon as that information is ready, we will share that out in a board communique. We also know the importance of focusing on our sub-pops, our Hispanic, our economically disadvantaged, our LEP students, and our special ed students. We also know that we need to maintain the success that we acquired in student growth. We can't focus just on student achievement domain 1 and let domain 2 drop. So we've added another component. They've got to keep domain 2, student growth, at the level it's at, and they still have to focus on improving domain 1. We need to continue the success that we've had in math. Math showed some excellent gains last year, and the principals are very aware that they're working with their staff and their assistant principals to ensure the focus on math. And the most important part is that we need to identify targeted groups of students needing intervention. We've been meeting with the principals, and they've already identified some students that we're going to show you in the next graph. Before we get to that, what is it that we currently have and what is it that's new? For our 3rd through 5th grade teacher support, we still have planning, vertical planning with 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. Principals get together with all their 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade in one room and actually plan to say where 3rd grade leaves off, 4th grade has to start. We have continued accountability training. We have our RTI days that are now in their 2nd year. We utilize specific DMAC reports. During the RTI day, the counselor comes in and works on child study referrals. There's allocated time for that. We have the Aim High dashboard for the student growth, again in its 2nd year. We're a 2nd year of Sandra Garza math implementation in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. We have the Lone Star online daily review that we've purchased for all the campuses. And we have our strategists who assist the bilingual teachers during planning and during class instruction delivery. But what's new? We're very confident with all the new implementations, we're going to see some very significant increases. We have a new ELA adoption. We have revised English language arts and reading curriculum documents. We have a very focused 150-minute literacy block. We've added daily planning. Planning protocol did not exist for 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade teachers for several years now, and it's come back. So while the teachers go to planning every day, the students go to intervention. We have instructional playbooks. We have a cohort of participants. The READ coach provided trainings to the cohort and to the administrators. Michelle Gonzalez, our READ coach, she meets with the principals to discuss during her classroom visits what she's observing, and she's coaching them. We have 3 new intervention online programs that the board has approved. We have Exact Path for all learners. We have Lexia, specifically for special ed and dyslexic students. And we have Vocabulary, which was purchased for all kinder through 5th grade staff. This includes music, art, PE, special ed, and anybody who can help us to play these musical songs so that it keeps improving our students' skill set. We also have writing and science collaboratives during RTI days where all the science teachers meet together and all the writing teachers meet together. We have that baseline assessment that I referred to earlier for all 3rd graders. That gave us some very good data. And then we have something new that we're working on. You've heard the success of the Aim High dashboard. We're looking to create a dashboard for just meets and masters so that teachers can track it just as easy as they tracked growth. And everybody was very successful, they'll be able to track the meets and masters. What do we have for our students? The target students identified who have failed the STAR assessment in 3rd and 4th grade are going to have very focused interventions. We've created intervention groups based on student needs. The interventions are taking place during the day and or after school. Students attend 30 minutes of daily intervention in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade currently already. We have guided instruction targeted TEKs, gaps for all groups, low, middle, high. We have a new adoption that actually differentiates all the resources. So if your Lexile says that you're at the approaches level, you're going to be reading at the approaches. We're going to build you up because our new curriculum allows for that differentiation. We're going to ensure that accommodations are practiced throughout the year for all qualifying students. Imagine being a student who has an accommodation of taking an assessment online. And all year he practices on paper because that's all we had. The new adoption allows that student now to actually take all his formatives and summatives online. He or she gets to practice using the highlighting, the oral, the auditory, the repeat. We've never had that before. So this is a very important part of our new adoption. And then, of course, all the allowable resources. We need to ensure that all our students have access to what it is that's allowable for them to help them succeed. For parents, we're meeting with all the parents whose children have failed in 3rd and 4th grade, who failed a STAR exam, and explaining the 5th grade requirements for when they get to that level. We want to hold informational sessions on how to assist or how they can assist their children. Use the resources on the TA website. Teach them how to look at gradebook and have access. The importance of daily reading. So when we look at the campus focus, you'll see North Heights, Galadon, and Garfield on the left here. You'll see that at North Heights, currently, these are 4th and 5th graders, so last year these would have been 3rd and 4th graders. So the current 4th grade, she tested 111 students, 38 failed as 3rd graders. 18 of them failed by 5 questions or less, 20 failed by 6 questions or more, and 19 of these students are 4 questions away from making the meets, or earning a meets grade. In 5th grade, you'll see North Heights tested 106 students, 46 failed, 22 failed it by 5 or more less questions, 24 by 6 or more, and 17 are that close. 17 identified students already that we know of are 4 questions away from making a meets. It's October. We have no doubt that with focused intervention, these students, especially the ones who missed it by 4 questions, will make it to the meets level. In meeting with principals and teachers, some of them are saying between the meets and the masters, it's relatively close. Some are anticipating it might be a master's. If we set that goal and allow the students to understand that goal and meet with the parents, we feel we can reach it. You'll see the same data. This is, of course, in reading. You'll see the same thing for Dr. Fermin Calderon with the number of students tested, those that failed, the number that missed it by less than 5, by more than 6, and are so close to meets by 4 questions. And of course, Garfield, same numbers across the board. We put together the same chart for you in math. North Heights Elementary tested 111, 43 failed. 26 of those students out of the 43 actually missed it by 5 questions or less. 27 are so close to making the meets, they only need 4 more questions. Again, the data is on this chart. This is where I was mentioning that the principals went back and actually now identified students, not just numbers, not just percentages. Actually said student A, as a 3rd grader, failed her assessment. This is how many questions she failed by. And now we're putting them into very targeted, specific tutorial groups and day intervention groups. Our tutorial groups, we're being very specific. They have to be a campus teacher. We're not going to hire outside tutors for after-school tutorials because we feel it's that important that the teachers who know the curriculum are actually doing the tutoring. We've had several proposals already come in, so we're anxious to get that started. What are we doing in Kinder First and Second to assist? We have an implementation of a 150-minute literacy block. They too have a new adoption. It's a Pearson adoption for the English Language Arts and Reading. All the curriculum documents have been revised and uploaded. We have had staff development on all the literacy block components repeatedly. We do have 36 kinder through second grade teachers participating in the READ cohort. They too have an online resource that's new, which is called Reading X by Edmonton. They were also purchased vocabulary, so we can start building the vocabulary very young, as early as kinder. We do have the instructional support strategists who are planning and modeling with the teachers in kinder, first, and second. And we did bring the Sandra Garza curriculum down to second grade this year. Last year, we only had it for third, fourth, and fifth, and this year, Sandra Garza has taken on the contract for second and sixth grade. Another thing that we do every 6 weeks is we do monitor the students' reading levels, and you'll see there it's by grade level. We do have individual teacher reports that we can share at any point in time. We do take it as a cluster. Again, what we don't want is one classroom to be at 100% and another one to be at a 50. We want everybody to move along and work as a team. So you'll see here that at Buena Vista, for instance, first grade is reading at a 1.5 average. First grade, 5th month. So they're in blue. You'll see that in 4th grade, they're reading at a 3rd grade, 8th month average. They're already behind a couple of months, so we identify that in red. These reports are tracked and they're sent out to the principals, who then have to work with their groups, have to inform parents to read every night, have to make sure we have guided reading during the day so that we can keep improving these numbers. So that's the presentation on the state required information. Everything that was in these slides is being put into the campus improvement plans. These charts, the targeted focus, the tutorials, this is an overview of what all 3 campuses are doing, but everything in here is being embedded into their plan. Are there any questions?
I just want to comment before I turn it to the rest of the board. Remember that we have Commissioner of Education Moran, who has a very strategic plan in regard to improving the systemic educational system. I see a lot of things happening before. As a board member, I would see 1 or 2 point difference from previous year's score, and that's not fast enough. I think the fact that we have resources for parents, we have, if anyone looks at the resources that are available for parents, you have a list of books by grade level for parents. And there's been a whole lot of development in the area of improving reading and improving, closing the gap. My concern is still with the subgroups in regard to finally have a bilingual director. Before, it's been treated as a program from curriculum. These students need a lot of help. I'm seeing a lot of good things in this plan. It's easy to identify those students that are almost there and to work with them and tutor them to the point where they will make it the following year. But in regard to closing the gap, I think there's still a lot of work to be done to make sure that we do not forget about the subgroups, special ed, bilingual, dyslexia, and 504s. The fact that there is a plan of action is good. I see a lot of good things happening here. I hope that we continue with, again, targeting the meets and master's level, because that's where it's going to make a difference. I'll open it up for any other comments here. Ms. Webb?
I like the plan. I like the fact that we are targeting those students that are below grade level. I know that I have mentioned this before. We need to know now how many students at every grade level are not at grade level, and this is a start. My question is, I know that we're targeting certain schools and we're targeting 4th and 5th graders because those are the ones that were tested last year, 3rd and 4th. So my question is, what are we doing to, well, first of all, I guess the first question should be, how many of the 5th graders that did not pass were promoted to 6th grade? All of them?
No, ma'am.
Okay, most of them? Some of them?
I don't have that number.
Okay. Well, that's okay, because
But-
my next question
But there was a
is,
process.
what are we doing for those students Because if my calculation is correct, we had about 88 fifth graders that didn't pass reading, and now they're at sixth grade, so it has them if all of them were promoted, and we have 70-something that didn't pass the math. So what is the process for them? We're targeting these 3 schools because that's what we were addressed with, but what are we doing for those other students so that they in turn are successful and don't fall through the gaps?
If I may, Ms. Webb, you are 100% correct that there were students that were promoted. However, I'll remind the board that last year was well, I say last year, was the second year that we started retaining fifth graders. And what our principals and the teams at the schools used was a chart provided that shows which students that failed still made significant growth and were expected to continue to make that growth to eventually be on target to graduate. Those were the students that were promoted, and then the sixth grade has that data and they're required to continue providing interventions. So this is the second year that we retain a substantial number of students. Now, as we provided that information to the board, but it would help all of us to be reminded of how many students were retained versus how many were promoted. So I'll commit to provide that in the board update. The second part is that this plan was developed specifically for North Heights, Calderon, and Garfield to meet a legislative requirement. So we focus on these schools to be prepared to meet that requirement to present before the board. But our plan, we're going to meet with the principals this Thursday. Our plan is to ask the other principals to use either 100% of this model. We identify students and start providing tutoring now, because you know how powerful is it when you talk to a parent and we say, look, your child passed last year, but if we can have them for just 30 minutes a day, twice a week, you know, look at how much we can grow them. And we have 6 months to do it. And we feel that the parents will give that commitment. Or if we tell them, your child failed by 6 questions, but if we get them X amount of days, we can get them to pass. The focus was clearly on improvement last year because we knew that's the way the system was designed. But here, to continue the growth, we need to focus on getting more kids to actually pass and to meet semesters. So I feel that Ida, her team, and the principals helped us develop a plan that's right on target, and we hope to step to everybody else. But the urgency was those 3 campuses to meet the requirement for tonight.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
And I know, I just want to add that I've already asked for the report on the number of trainees we had before, but if you want it again, that's fine. Just want to mention also in regard to Commissioner Morath, he's strengthening the program in regard to teacher preparation as well as principal certification, you know, above and beyond, because he's working with the universities in regard to establishing the certification for principals and teachers and make it more rigorous in regard to preparation. Anyone else? Okay. Amy.
I agree with you that it's going to make a big difference. I think if you, I like the part with news support, the information that you've added to help, and I really like the part that we reach out to the parents, because that's really important. I can attest to that. That it's very important that we are made aware of what we need to be and what we can do to improve and to help our child. So I really do. I think the plan works. I think it's going to work, and I'm looking forward to see the growth of our students.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. and Board.
We're down to item 9 on agenda. Again, there's minutes of meetings. There's special and special call board meetings as well. If you would like to pull any of those items, you can deal with one item with any questions in regard, or if you need any further information, you can at this point. But before we do that, we will ask for Ms. Gonzalez. to do the donations, and then we'll ask the question.
Alrighty. The Spartan Pro donated 275 to Buena Vista Elementary UIL, 110 to Dr. Federico Elementary Student Council, $125 to North Pass Elementary, $285 to North Elementary Student Council, $125 to Garfield Elementary, and $230 to Ruben Chavita Elementary. BMW 852 donated $400 to W Freshman Sapphires. Griner Rubio donated $200 to W CTE Culinary. Buffalo Wings and Rings, $100 to W High School Manachi. Construction, $500 to High School Metal Trades. Dario Ram Booster Club, $3,272.10. Sports Promotion Network, $33.50 to Delaware High School cheerleaders. Thank you. Where did I stop? Okay. Sounds good. Shall we all meet there later? Okay. $734.06 to Del Rio High School cheerleaders. Football Booster Club, $3,500 to Del Rio High School football. Chick-fil-A, $100 to Del Rio Lonnie, Dr. Lonnie Green Elementary. Anna, $57 to Early College High School. De Santa Viera, $6 to Lower Elementary Student Council. Spring, $200 to Ruben Elementary. Border Federal Credit Union, $50 gift card to Buena Vista Elementary. South Texas Regional Back to School Health Fairs donated 10 backpacks, estimated value $35 to Elementary. 10 backpacks, total estimated value $35 to Del Rio High School. 15 backpacks, total estimated value $52.50 to Dr. Federico Calderon Elementary. 50 backpacks, total estimated value $250 to Dr. Lonnie Green Elementary. 15 back, total estimated value $50.50 to Garfield Elementary. Ron Plaza Association donated 7 backpacks, total estimated value Ron Plaza Association with 7 backpacks, total estimated value $230.44 to Del Rio Celebrate. City Church of Del Rio, 6 bags of food, total estimated value $50 to Dr. Federico Elementary. HEB, 120 lunch boxes filled with snacks and a drink, total estimated value $300 to Garfield Elementary. McDonald's, school supplies, total estimated value $50 to Garfield Elementary. And Church, 40 boxes of supplies, total estimated value $40 to Garfield Elementary. School supplies, total estimated value $2,800 to Lamar Elementary. School supplies, total estimated value $2 to Chavita Elementary. Brown Plaza Association, 7 backpacks, total estimated value $50 to Lamar Elementary. Del Rio Board of Realtors, 28 shoes and supplies, total estimated value $850 to Lamar Elementary. Owner's shoes, 50 microscope pots, 4 flour pellets, soup sedimenters for guys in color social mobility, total estimated value $652.99 North Tax Elementary. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As always, we're grateful to individuals and organizations making donations to our district and establishing those partnerships for supplies and needed items. Again, we thank you for your donations. At this time, I will ask board if there's any item or any questions to minutes on the consent agenda. Question, Mr. Smith? No questions? Ms. Gonzalez?
Yeah, I wanted to comment on the GTE. What was that one? Very happy that that's happening. Yeah, we're being asked to help our employee get their GED. I'm very happy to see that. I hope it continues. So far, it's 20 have expressed interest. Is that correct? Okay. Anyway.
Thank you to administration in regard to this request to assist our employees obtain their GED. I had a question in regard to item F4, consideration to approve purchase order over 25,000 to IntelliChoice in the amount of $36,854.01 for the purpose and installation of records management.
Yes,
I know Mr. Miller is not
Mr. Chief was not here, but if you recall, they applied for a grant from the state of Texas, and unless I'm correct, Mr. Alderman, I believe this just had with that grant.
Question was, is it a one-time expense, a yearly expense, or is it just one purchasing the management system?
I believe there will be an annual maintenance fee of about $1,500. But this one-time for software.
Okay, for software. There is a licensing fee for later year.
Yeah, for $1,500 annual fee.
Okay, my understanding was that this management system would alleviate and correct any mistakes. It was a time for reports. It doesn't keep the individual from their hourly service districts and reporting incidents.
That is correct. It's a more efficient system. It is a software. It's audited. Right now, they have a manual paper system.
Okay. And a grant.
And it's to grant the government.
Okay. Else? There being none, then my question has been answered in regard to consent agenda. So therefore, I'll entertain motion for approval of consent agenda. Ms. Smith, second by Ms. Gonzalez. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. We're down to item 10A, consideration to approve the superintendent evaluation calendar, and that appears on page 115. You will see August 2019, all the way up to June, July 2020. Most of the time, we've been able to keep up with the calendar. There's been some extenuating circumstances where we will train up and down. Most of the time, it's where something comes up and we're able to have an exam on the date specified or the month. But everything else is on that calendar. Everything that we do for the evaluation instrument. Any questions, board members? If not, then I'll entertain a motion for approval. This is for the superintendent's evaluation calendar. Mrs. Webb by Mr. Smith, in favor. Motion carries unanimously. Next item is 10B, consideration of the performance scope for the 2019-2020 superintendent's evaluation instrument. It's following the calendar on page 116. You will see all the target performance goals and the targets. Just one question. I know we have talked about the pre-K program to changes to what Ms. Adams presented here in regard to extending the hours Enrique, can you elaborate on any changes on the targets?
If I may, the board will approve the performance goals, which are the first 4 goals. Then what will come now in January is finalize the performance targets so that the board is pleased with what we've put in, and if they want to add any other term, we'll absolutely include ensure that our PA program is full day for this year, and we'll then score different and present them to the board. But today we're asking you to approve goal 1 through 4, or to suggest changes in goals 1 through 4. My recommendation, my belief is that goals 1 to 5 are appropriate, because we absolutely have a focus that the governor and the commissioner have emphasized. While we're the increases at Del Rio School, we believe that there's still work to be done in that area. And the other 3 are relevant. So unless you do away with one of those or add a goal, that's what we will do tonight. At the last meeting, there was no act, so we went ahead and left the goals the same. But we have to go back and change the days on there, reflect last year. We helped to do it by day. There just wasn't. But we're asking y'all to go.
Cool. Okay. Does everyone understand? We're just approving the goals. Yes. Does anyone want any other item? Leave it the way it is. Okay. Then it is the recommendation that the Board of Trustees approve the performance goals for 2019-2020 superintendent's evaluation instrument as presented. Motion, Mr. Smith, seconded by Amy. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your hand. Motion carries unanimously. Performance superintendent's evaluation is approved. Next item we have is 11A, consideration to approve a D in domain improvement plan submitted for North Heights Elementary, Garfield Elementary, Dr. Line, as required state statute. Dr. Felipe. Yes, one correction. On our book, so it'll be for North Heights Elementary, Garfield Elementary, and Dr. Felipe as required by state statute. Items.
Yes, President Mesa, doctors and members of the board, comments presented the term improvement plan and the strategies that those 3 campuses would be utilized throughout the year to improve their domain 1 rating. If there are no questions, I do have a recommendation because it is a requirement that the board get a plan and also approves it.
No questions from the board. Recommendation.
Yeah, it is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the plan of action, approve the D and domain state statutory requirements presented for North Heights Elementary, Dr. Felipe Calderon, and Gill Elementary.
The recommendation, motion for approval, Mr. Smith, by Amy. All those in favor, raise your hand. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. For no items under technology operations, 13A, business and finance, consider approve first reading of policy CDA, local, other revenues, investments, Mr. Arredondo.
Good President Mesa, board members, doctors. In compliance with CD local, all investments made by the district shall comply with Public Investment Act, federal, state, and local statutes, rules, or regulations. donations and bets shall be made in accordance with the written policies of the board. The board shall review investment policy and investment strategies not less than annually. Hence the item. Resolution was approved at the May 2013 regular Board of Trustees meeting, authorizing the superintendent and the chief financial officer as the district investment officers. The board of trustees shall review investment policy and investment strategy. There are no changes in the Public Fundament Act, therefore there are no changes to the policy.
So it is the same as it was last year.
Correct.
Questions? No questions. Recommendation?
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the first reading of the policy CDA logo.
You've heard the recommendation from the administration. I will entertain motion for approval. Mr. Seconded by Mrs. Webb. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Arredondo. 13B, consideration of the resolution regarding review of the investment policy. Mr. Arredondo.
Okay, the Board of Trustees shall review the investment policy and investment strategy and adopt a written resolution stating that it has been reviewed and to report any changes made to CDA logo. There are no recommendations.
Questions from board members? Same thing as so it's a thing that has to be approved.
That is correct.
Recommendation, please.
The recommendation of the administration, the Board of Trustees approve the resolution regarding review of the investment policy CDA logo.
Heard the recommendation, motion for approval. Mr. Smith, seconded by Mrs. Webb. Those in favor, motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Arredondo. Item 14.8, Human Resources. Consider and approve the conversion the computer technician to a senior computer technician at the technology department. Garcia.
Good evening, President Massa, Dr. Rios, members of the board. During the September regular board meeting, we presented the job description for a senior computer technician, and now our technology director is requesting to convert a current computer technician position to a senior computer technician. The total conversion for this will be about 1,500, and they absorbed by the vacancy pool. This position, if approved, will be posted internal. So one computer technician will be promoted to senior computer technician. Questions?
Okay, this appears on 21. Questions? This is going to be $1,550.
More or less. Yeah.
There being no questions or recommendations?
It is a recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the conversion of a computer technician to a senior computer technician for the technology department.
Heard the recommendation from administration. Is there a motion for approval? Ms. Wentz, seconded by Mr. Smith. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Item 19B, consideration of the conversion of the acquisition speech language pathologist assistant for the special education department. Garcia.
Yes, sir. During our budget process, we always allocate about 5 teacher positions in case we higher enrollments and need to hire more teachers. Enrollment has been steady. So at this time, we have the special education department that is requested to convert excess positions to speech language assistants. As you know, the lot of candidates that we hire declined the position. So we do have large numbers for speech, so we will recommend or convert these positions to speech language assistants.
Question from board members? No questions. Recommendation.
It is a recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the conversion of two of the excess positions to speech language pathologist assistants for the Special Education Department.
The recommendation of administration entertained for approval. Ms. Gonzalez, second by Mrs. Webb. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries unanimously. Item 14C, consideration to approve the employee job description and evaluation form for the following: instruction support specialist. De Garcia.
Yes, we are requesting to update the job description for the interventionist master reading teacher to instructional support specialist. In your packet, you received a copy of the job description. In blue, the information added, in red, the information deleted. And at this time, if you have any specific questions about the job itself, we have Rios or Ms. Gomez that can answer those questions.
Questions?
I was looking at the intervention master reading teacher. Did they take away the power hour, or correct? We deleted it? Okay, so we're not doing that anymore. So what the intervention is doing during that power hour time?
There's still interventions that are done during the day. For example, I know that we had communication, for example, North Heights. North Heights has a whole lot of teachers that are part of the REAP grant. So those teachers, because it's a grant, they only work with Michelle Gonzalez. So there's more time free for that intervention. So they do some support to the student two groups. There's also, I know I had a conversation with Leon, and they asked to also use that intervention. They had a need and they had some time in their schedule. So they are doing some intervention with students, just not to the degree that they were doing before.
And as I was looking at the view of what was taken out on number 2, engaged all students, taken out, and then just would support all ELA teachers. But I'm under the impression that we should continue to engage students and support and include all ELA teachers. And the same thing with number 4. It says, and interventions for students, we need the word all students, because students, what are you referring to? And okay, one more question on here, or 2 comments. I know we're adding the GT component to this particular person as well. So how many intervention master teachers that we're looking to convert do we have in the district?
So every campus, every elementary campus has one master reading teacher. Okay. Back when we had a grant, a very sizable grant, we invested in having teachers trained to be master reading teachers. And we have all but one that's a certified master reading teacher. Now, in previous years, because we were focusing a whole lot on the overall improvement, they did work with groups throughout the day. But as we consider the commissioner's focus on reading and how they want us to focus, we have to shift to support more of the teachers in implementing this new reading initiative that's statewide. It's big, and to a certain extent, we ourselves are learning. So we hope to be providing more training to the master reading teachers, which would now be the instructional support specialists, to support this development at the campus level, but still providing some support. They're just not working 100% with students. We have to work to support our teachers, and it hasn't been the easiest thing, but it's definitely something that we're going to focus on over the next few years to make sure that our students enter third grade with a stronger foundation than they have in the past. And that doesn't mean that our teachers have to work longer. It just means that our teachers have to work differently, and we're learning what that differently looks like. Because to a certain extent, it is rocket science when we talk about teaching phonics, and it's just not easy.
So by adding the GT component, we're also adding the differentiated instruction for those students identified as GT, I'm assuming.
Our focus on the GT is that it's a massive testing. We don't have the personnel that can just stop and test at the district. And so by having this on the campus, we hope that we can more adequately keep with the GT testing. So the component involves a whole lot of testing. Now, where we're going to focus on the meets and masters, there is that component where they'll help us come up with tutoring for those kids that we want to push meets and masters, and to certainly there may be some GT students, or maybe a whole lot of them.
Was it possible for us as a district to go back and having a GT fair as we used to have in the past, so that parents that have students in GT will continue to differentiate instruction that's happening within the classroom?
We've had that condition a new times, and we haven't finalized it. No, we just have to be able to provide more than that one project that GT was doing. We're not opposed to having that GT project, but GT instruction should be happening every day.
Correct.
And that's been our focus, but we'll continue to have the discussion with our CNI department and Ms. Chirlada and the principals to see what we can provide. But just in full transparency, our focus is in enriching the instruction on a daily basis so we can get to more of the meets and masters.
Correct. And I'm not referring to a show and tell. That's not what I'm referring to as a GT fair. What I'm referring to is if these students are already getting higher academic instruction because they are identified GT, they should be doing this throughout the year, as you mentioned. So maybe have a showcase of what these students have been doing throughout the year so parents can come in and see. That's what I'm referring to, not a show and tell. That's totally incorrect.
I'm not prepared to give you a definitive answer, but we'll continue to have that discussion, and we'll commit to having an update provided before the November meeting, the board update.
Okay.
Is that fair?
Thank you, sir.
I just had one question. Referral to the testing, are these new referrals that you're referring to the GT?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other? No. Recommendation for the job description evaluation forms.
It is the recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve the employee job description evaluation forms as discussed.
So you've heard the recommendation. There's a motion by Mr. Smith, seconded by Ms. Gonzalez. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Item 14D, consideration to approve updates to the 2019-2020 district compensation plans.
Yes, Mr. Mesa, during our September board meeting, we converted the coordinator position control to 2 clerks. So we're deleting that position on our administrative professional pay plan, which is listed right after the memo on pay grade 2. Then also the revised interventionist master teacher to instructional support specialist, that's under pay grade 3. At pay grade 5, we're deleting the coordinator for student services because that's a pay grade 4 position, and it is also listed on pay grade 4. Those are the updates for the administrative professional plan. Any questions on that part before I move on to the paraprofessional?
From board members. No questions. Recommendation.
Okay, well, on the paraprofessional, pay plan, we're updating under grade 7, which is the third page. We're including senior computer technician that we just. And then under your auxiliary pay plan, we're adding the peace officer district courier. This position has its own job description, so it should be listed on the compensation pay plan. And finally, we're revising the dance company sponsor to match the bells and the cheerleading sponsor. We're changing it from 3,210 to 7,276. That's our recommendation. Any questions?
We got that on the update, so if there are no questions from the board. Here's the recommendation from administration, please.
It is a recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve updates to the 2019-20 district compensation plan as presented.
The recommendation, is there a motion for approval? Ms. Gonzalez, seconded by Amy. All in favor, please indicate by raising. Motion carries unanimously. The time is 8:20 a.m. We're now in session. Permitted sections 551.071, 551.072, 551.073, 551.074, 551.076, 551.082, 551.084, 551.087 of the Government Codes Open Meetings Act. If the final required broken upon reconvening into open session, we're now in closed session. Okay, the time is 9:28 p.m. We are reconvening into open session. No action was taken in executive session. We're down to item 18A, consideration to approve personnel report to include the following: new hires, district vacancies, retirements, and resignations. Aide Garcia.
Yes, sir. It is a recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve the following new hires: Ashley Gonzalez, speech language pathologist assistant for the special ed department; Denise Venero, speech language pathologist assistant for the special education department. And those are the only two new hires.
Those are the only two. Right, the recommendation. Is there a motion for approval? Mr. Smith, seconded by Amy Haynes. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your right. Motion carries unanimously. Item 18B, consideration to approve salary adjustments to include but not limited to the following: service credit, salary matrix adjustment. Aide Garcia.
Yes, sir. It is a recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve the salary adjustments as discussed in closed session.
You've read the recommendation. Motion by Mr. Smith, seconded by Diana Gonzalez. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries unanimously. Item 18C, consideration to approve the position of Director of Federal and State Programs. Aide Garcia.
Yes, sir. It is a recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve Ruby Adams for the position of Director of Federal and State Programs as discussed in closed session.
You have heard the recommendation from administration. Is there a motion for approval? Diana Gonzalez, seconded by Mr. Smith. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries unanimously. Item 18D, consideration to approve counselor for Dr. Lonnie Green.
Yes, sir. It is a recommendation of administration that the Board of Trustees approve Tanya Morgan for counselor at Dr. Lonnie Green Elementary.
You've heard the recommendation. Is there a motion for approval? Mrs. Webb, seconded by Amy Haynes. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. There being no other business on the agenda, is there a motion for adjournment? Mr. Smith, seconded by Amy Haynes. All those in favor? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Y'all have a